Last time we looked at polygons and their sub-objects and making some really basic edits to things using extrude, cut, inset, collapse. I'm not going to go over all the commands available. They're there for you to explore and see what they do. But this time we're going to look at shapes. Okay, so we're on the create panel here, and this is where we access our standard primitives that I used last time. So we're going to go to shapes here. Okay, so I'm just going to click circle and drag out a circle. Let's try n-gon, drag out an n-gon. Let's try star, drag out a star. Okay. So let's go to the modifier panel here and just take a look at what we've got here. Let's just roll up that rendering one and the interpolation one. We can use this little arrow here to roll up and roll down these rollouts. Okay, so if we take a look at the star, we can change its number of points. We can add some distortion. We can add some fillet, which just means rounding off a corner. Okay. For the n-gon, quite a few less parameters here than the star. So we can do radius, we can do sides, we can do corner radius to round it off. Okay. We can even turn it into a circle. Why you would want to do that when we've got a circle here, I have no idea, but it's there if you want to. And circle. Okay, let's turn that rendering up. And let's take a look at this. The circle has one parameter, radius. That's it. Okay, but let's take a look at interpolation here, because this is quite important. If we zoom in here, you can see the circle isn't actually a circle. It's a load of straight edges connected together. Okay, if we're looking at it from out here, yep, looks like a circle, but come in close and you'll see it's not actually a circle. So we can adjust the steps here, turn it down to 0, we get basically a square. Okay, we can also use this adaptive, and that will give you a nice circle, but if we do go in far enough you will start to see edges. Okay, I don't really use adaptive very much. I'm usually using a step value of like anything from 2 to 6 or 8 or something. Okay, so you'll notice, oh, one last one. Let's take a look, 2 last ones actually. Let's take a look at rectangle. Okay, again, just turn that up. It's got 3 parameters: length, width, corner radius. Okay, so let's, just like the polygons, these are also made up out of sub-objects. Okay, but instead of adding an edit poly, now we could add an edit poly to the circle, but it's not something I would recommend. Let's add an edit spline. Okay, now I call these shapes at the start, and essentially they are shapes, but they're also called splines, they're also called lines. Okay, it depends on the context in which you're talking about them. And you'll notice this looks sort of similar to the polygon one, but we've got 3 sub-objects this time. If I go into vertex, which is 1 in the keyboard, we can select the vertex and we can move it about. Okay, we can go to segment and move it about. Okay, we can rotate it if we want. Okay, I'm just going to undo that. A segment connects 2 vertices together. Okay, a spline is a continuous, well, it doesn't have to be continuous, is the whole thing. Okay, now you can have multiple splines within a shape. Okay, just like before, if I shift drag that, just like I did with the chimney pots, we now have two circles inside this one object called circle. Okay, you'll see if I move that, they both move. Okay, so some of you who have used any sort of art program or design program may have seen these before. Okay, these are called Bezier handles. And what they essentially are handles that allow you to define the shape of a smooth corner or even a sharp corner. So what I'm going to do is take this handle and just start moving it about. And you can see this, the shape moving there. Okay, so if I click the x-axis here and then move it, we can actually give that circle a sharper point. Okay, let's just undo that. So usually every one of these vertexes has these handles, but there is a couple of cases where it doesn't. So let's just create a rectangle. Okay, and add an edit spline to it. Okay, here we go. All right. Jump into vertex mode 1 on the keyboard, remember, and let's just select that vertex. You can see the handles, the Bezier handles, are running along the edge. Okay. If I want to restrict the movement of this handle to the YX plane, so that's why I just clicked here. Click and drag, and you'll see it's staying perfectly flat, but I can move it in these two directions. Okay, if I clicked here, you can see what it's done. Okay, I'm just going to undo that. So let's take a look at the different types of corner you can have. So I'm going to right click on a vertex here that I've got selected. Okay, just selecting it by clicking on it. Now right click and let's take a look here. We've got 4 different types of corner here. The one we're on at the minute is called Bezier corner. Okay, and what that essentially means is that the handles are independent of each other. Okay, I can move that about like this. Let's just give this a little bit more smoothness. I'll just keep adaptive on here for a minute. I don't usually use that, but for the purposes of this lesson it will work quite well. See how nice and smooth the curves are now. Okay, so let's just move that about. Okay, do it in the top view as well, give you a better view of it. So that's a Bezier corner. Let's just right click, and there's a little bug here, sometimes it doesn't let you pick these up. I'm just going to reset tangents. Okay, so right click, I'm going to choose Bezier this time, and now when I click on this handle, the other one kind of opposes it, stays in exactly the opposite of it. Okay, so those are locked together now, and it's a good way of getting nice corners. Okay, the further away you pull them, the flatter the line will be through the vertex. The closer they come together, the more pointy the vertex becomes, the line going through the vertex. We also have corner. That's the one that has no Bezier handles. Okay, the curve is only coming from here. Okay, there's no curve where it hits this vertex. I'll illustrate that by changing this. In fact, I'll just change them all to corner, just dragging a box around them, and corner. Okay, now you'll see there are, because all 4 vertices are set to corner, there's no curves at all. Okay, and let's take a look at smooth. Smooth has no Bezier handles either. It just tries to draw a nice curve the best it can through it. Generally don't use smooth really at all, because it never gives you the curve that you actually want. You're almost always going to be using these 3. Okay, Bezier corner, where the handles are locked together, where the handles are independent of each other. Bezier, where the handles are locked together, and corner, where there are no handles. We can do lots of stuff with curves. Let's take a look at this. Let's just delete these other ones. I'm just going to select them and delete them. Okay. Let's say we want to keep the outer shape here, but we want to get rid of that. Okay, we want to get rid of these shapes here. How would we do that? Well, let's come to Spline, and again, this is my favorite way of doing it because it gives you a bit more control. Sorry, not Spline, segment. Okay, it gives you better control, and I'm looking for, maybe it is in here. Yeah, sorry, it's in Spline. So what I'm going to do is use this trim function here. Now what that will do is, if I click here or here or here, anywhere along this line from this point to here, if I just click, it knows, it sort of looks along the line until it hits the next line. Same here, click, and then just turn that off. Right. So we now have that outer shape. Okay. And the only problem with this is that, watch what happens when I move the selected segments. They're actually still independent. Okay, so just, I'm going to undo that. What we can do here is come to vertex mode and just drag through those like this. You can see we've got 4 handles now because there's 2 vertices right on top of each other. I'm just going to click weld. And now when we select them, we only have 2. Okay, so there's a nice kind of, I don't know, reminds me of a MasterCard logo or something. Let's have a look at another modifier now, which generally you're going to use when you're using splines, and that's called extrude. What that will do is turn our line into a solid 3D object. Okay. You'll probably never want to change this. Okay, you might want to turn off cap start and cap end. Okay, just fills it in. This one's very important. Okay, we can add segments here. Okay, let's leave that at say 3. Okay, and we could do something now like add and edit poly, go to our polygon mode, drag a box, you can see it selected all of them, and we can do something like extrude. Right, now that's probably not what you want here. What I wanted was that extrusion to sort of point away from all the polygons, and we can do that just by coming here and using these settings here, local normals. Then hit OK, and then I'll just come out of polygon mode. There we go. Okay, we now have turned, if I turn this off using the eyeball, and this off, and this off. First of all, we made a circle, duplicated the circle, and used the trim function to get rid of the inner bits. Then we welded the vertices, extruded it up, and then used edit poly and extrude to bring out this little rim around it. Okay. Another really useful thing about lines is, I'm just going to go to front view F. Okay, and I'm going to create a new line here. I'm going to create a really simple bottle here. Okay, or a wine glass. Let's do a wine glass, something a little bit more complicated. So I'm just going to do this because I'm not going to explain this. I'm just going to let you see how it works. Okay, now, does it look like a wine glass? Nope. But let's add a lathe modifier, and let's play with these buttons here. Minimum, center, max. Okay, we now have something that looks a little bit more like a wine glass. Let's turn on weld core to fix that. Okay, and we'll just set it down the ground here as well. So just set it down. So the real power of this comes from, let's just increase the segments here, how easy it is to edit. You'll notice the lathe went away there, okay, when I clicked on line. And the reason for that is this little button here, show end result on off toggle. Basically, when that button is off, it only shows us up to the level of the stack that we're operating, which is line. If I turn that on, it works everything out right up the top. If I had multiple modifiers on there, it would be showing the result of those two. But let's take a look, see why this is really powerful. If I select that now, that vertex there, which is in the line, it's not a vertex in the polygon, okay? It's a vertex in the line. And I go right click, smooth, and maybe do the same here. Right click, smooth. Okay, and if I go to front view and hit F3, okay, so these two vertices here, I don't want to be cutting anybody's lips with this glass, so let's change these to a Bezier corner. You'll notice I'm in a front view here. Okay, so I'm just going to take that and move it up there, take this and move it to there. Something like that. Okay, now it kind of looks like a wine glass, but it needs to be out like that. Okay, let's go to front view and let's turn show end result off. Let's move that up to there, take these two and move them up a bit. So what I'm going to do now is add another vertex in here, and we can do that with the excuse me, refine function here. So I'm just going to click somewhere here, and let's just move this. Now this is really rough, but I'll just change that to smooth. Sometimes I do use smooth, and actually I'm not going to. Let's just undo that. Pull that down to about there. Let's maybe make these ones a little bit narrower. Something like this. Now this is really rough. Okay, this one I'm going to turn to a Bezier corner. I'm going to make it nice and flat there. And go a little bit better wine glass. The bottom is probably too thick, so I'll just hit front view. And what we'll do here is we'll just take all those vertices there and there and just drag it down. Busy corner. And again here. I want these rounded off, but instead of changing them in the Bezier corner this time, what we'll use is this little function here called fillet. So I'm just going to turn it on. I'm going to come over, I've got both of them selected, click and drag. And that would probably be a better option here as well. So let's select those two, switch them to a corner. Let's try and fix this a little first. Undo. Let's change that to Bezier. Get it a little bit of a better shape. And we'll probably need another vertex here. Let's just pull that in a bit. What's it set to? Right, I want it on Bezier, so let's just try and get this nice and thin, the proper wine glass. And come up to the top, move those a bit closer, and let's fillet them. Okay, now let's take a look at this. We turn our end result back on and hit P. There's our wine glass. Another lesson that I usually do, and I'll show you it really quickly just before we finish. If we take our line tool again, what I'm going to do, see if you can work out what this is going to be. Anyone? No? Let's see. Change this to Bezier corner, like that, like that. Change this to Bezier corner too. Just pull out a bit, something like that. Worked out what it is yet? No? Right, okay, let's put a lathe on it. Doesn't look like much. Let's try our minimum button. Still doesn't look like much. Center. Maximum, nope. Okay, let's try direction. X, minimum, center, maximum. Still can't get it looking right. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at what's inside the lathe modifier. Let's just use the little roll out there. Click on axis. Just turn flip normals on. If your model comes out black here, sometimes you have to click this little setting here. Recognize it now. Okay, it's a bullet or a shell, whatever you want to call it. And the power of this is that just at a sort of simple click and drag, we can have a low poly or we can have a high poly. We can come down to our line object here. Let's show end result. And look at our interpolation here. So if I click adaptive, you can see we've got a nice smooth curve here. Okay, turn it off, it's a little bit more jaggy. We can adjust that if we want. Okay, so that's shapes and lines. Okay, I'll leave you to explore the rest. Wine glass, bullet, pretty complex objects made very, very quickly. Okay, that's us done.